Hello people, this is a follow-up to a copperplate calligraphy workshop we had this last weekend. We did not cover these misfit letters, the 6 letters that do not follow the basic pattern. So I figured I'll do a quick video and share it with the people who attended the workshop, and hopefully others. It'll be of some value to some people. So the 6 letters in kind of semi-formal copperplate that we did are the F, R, S, Z, X, and K. I'm going to just go over how I formed these letters. This, by the way, is not the only way to form these letters. It's just the way I follow, and this is what I included in the handouts from the workshop. So please take this for people who did not attend the workshop. I'm not showing this as the only way, but definitely a way that works for me. So to start, the letter F, to explain the guidelines, we have the baseline over here and the waistline, and the distance between the waist and the baseline is the X height. This is the first descender line and the first ascender line. So to start, we draw an entry hairline. Then between the waist and the first ascender line, we start with a thin stroke, gradually thickening it at around the middle of the X height, and then maintaining that thickness all the way to the first descender line. And we go up and make this loop in the clockwise direction. I add a very delicate shade over here. I kind of like that. The crossbar I like is this, which is kind of very quick and kind of doesn't cause too much spacing issues. Another F, a variation of the crossbar is we have the same basic structure. But instead of doing the crossbar like this, we go back to the waistline and do the connect. You could do it this way as well. So that's another variation, especially if you want to fill up the space over here. If you know, in some compositions it could be useful. The letter R has the hairline going all the way to the waistline. And this blob is about 1/3 of the way above, 1/3 of the X height above the waistline. And then the R starts is kind of a weird compound stroke that's not quite starting at the top. So for reference, a compound stroke would be like this. But you can see it's kind of similar, but it doesn't quite start over here. It starts about 1/3 of the way down for kind of obvious reasons. The S, the first part of the S is the same as the R, with the blob about 1/3 of the X height above the waistline. The rounded part of the S is like an inverted C. So you have the shade kind of in the upper half. The maximum of the shade is in the upper half of the X height. So if we turn it upside down, it should look like a pretty good C that should be there. Now when you're writing a regular C, the shade is towards the lower half. So when we invert it, of course the shade should be in the upper portion. So that's how an S is written. The Z also starts as an inverted C, but before it reaches, it doesn't quite go up and form the dot over here. We form a small loop over here, which allows us to go into this descender space and create this blob. I kind of joined back a little bit below the baseline. This should ideally be coming back over here, so I'll give it another try. This is a little bit better. The letter X is a toughie. It's a difficult one because it is actually two C's. There's an inverted C. Again, most of the shade is in the upper half since it's inverted, and then a C that has no shading. The tricky part of this is getting the slant consistent. In my case, this C is a little bit straighter than this one, if you notice. So this mismatch is a bit tricky. I'm writing at a slightly awkward angle because of the camera. Well, at least that's my excuse, but I do get it wrong quite often. So even when I'm not holding a camera, so with a camera and talking makes it that much harder. But you know how it's made. A variation of this X is by drawing a compound stroke and then connecting these. So you can see kind of the inverted C and the right side up C. So this is another X that you could play with. I kind of joined a bit low over here, a bit higher would be better, as if it's the opposite of this. So we have the letter X. The letter K is actually fairly straightforward. I quite like this variation. It's goes up to the first ascender line, halfway in the middle of halfway between the base and waistline. We draw kind of a C, but it doesn't come down quite as much. And then we have a mini compound stroke over here. So it makes for a pretty nice K. This is the space between the hairline and this stem stroke is a bit too much, so I'll give it another try, hopefully doing a better job this time. So okay, slightly better, except I got the slant on this a little bit wrong. So well, this kind of covers the 6 letters that we missed. And just to recap on the basic strokes, we had 4. We had the I stroke, which starts tapering in the last 1/3, and then you go up the hairline. The inverted I stroke, which literally is an inverted I, and which means that the gradual increase in thickness should be in the top third part. And then the compound curve, which is the first part of the inverted I, and the middle part is the same in both, and then the bottom part of the regular I. So we start like an inverted I and end like a regular I, and we have a compound stroke. And then the O stroke, which is kind of its own thing. You could do it in 2 strokes, or you could do it in 1 stroke, as if you're writing the whole thing in one go. Whichever you feel comfortable. The shading on this comes down a bit too much, so don't do that. Shading on this one is a little bit better. I generally like the shading to be just slightly below center, but you could do it exactly at the center if you prefer it that way. It's just a question of whatever you feel looks better for you. So the copperplate we did in the workshop was not very formal, and definitely not nearly as formal as engrosser script. So this is kind of more rapid, but not quite as perfect as engrosser script, but it is very satisfying to execute. So I hope this video has been of help, and hopefully in future I'll do some more as I do more workshops and I get more and more questions. So if there are any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I'll be more than happy to answer as many as I can. Thank you for watching.